We are going to move on to the draft operating and capital budget for 2026. Do we need a quick break, or would we like to get right into it? All right, let's get right into it. I'll hand things over to CO Beveridge. You want to start?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight marks an important step in the setting of financial direction for our community. The 2026 budget reflects months of work by administration, guided by previous council's strategic priorities, and informed by meaningful public engagement. Our goal is to present a plan that balances fiscal responsibility with the services and infrastructure that our residents rely on. This process is about transparency, collaboration, and positioning Edson for sustainable growth. At this time, I'll turn things over to our Chief Financial Officer, Denise McDonald, who will walk us through the details of the proposed operating and capital budgets. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. McDonald.
Thank you, CEO Beveridge. Good evening, Council. Following the September 16th budget presentation, administration has revised the budget. With this second draft, we will focus our attention on the budget process, the changes since September 16th, the executive summary, and we will lightly review the departments at a glance, the budget impact, and the summary. We are now at the final step of the budget process. Administration is seeking Council's final approval prior to December 31st. It is important to emphasize that Council is not establishing the tax rate at this time, only approving the budget. Once approved, administration can then move forward on program planning and tenders effective January 1st. Carry forwards for projects not completed in 2025 and requiring Council approval will come forward in the new year, likely late January or early February, as it ties with the closing of the books for 2025. Then spring adjustments, these occur after the provincial budget is released. They are typically minor adjustments for items not available in 2025, and it will include administration additions that will need Council consideration before setting the tax mill rate bylaw. Key timing for the variables that we need to do the tax rate bylaw include assessment finalized in February and will be presented to Council in March. Provincial budget generally is in February, and the results for grants and data is released in March and April. The school and other requisitions, generally we have them by March and April. When we have all those variables, we then can consider the tax rate calculation. And once all those variables are in, we take the assessment times the tax rate to give us the total taxation levy. Then we create the tax rate bylaw, which we will bring to Council in May to authorize the tax assessment and notices to be created and sent out mid-May. We will now go to the slide to introduce the changes since September 16th. So on the left-hand side, you will see the changes that are included in this budget since the September 16th, but generally will not impact the bottom line. So salary reallocations between departments has been done to better reflect the salaries within the organization and to balance we needed to balance the self-serving departments due to any changes, and utility reallocations across the organization. Internal equipment rent sharing between departments was also included. On the right-hand side is financial impacts that have adjusted the budget. So 911 dispatch, we have transitioned to the next generation system that we've increased that area by $57,744. We've added drone insurance coverage for the fire department of $400. Yellowhead County allocations, we've recalculated all the allocations for the Yellowhead County on our cost sharing agreements, and that nets to $35,012. We've reviewed our benefits for short-term disability and made an adjustment of $40,000. Snow removal, due to a capital project not proceeding, we've reduced the snow removal by $7,500. And cemetery, we adjusted the revenues by $4,900 increase. Wilmore Park, we noticed a duplication for the caretaking entry and reduced the budget by $36,000. So this brings us back to our executive summary. We're proposing a 2.7% tax levy increase, no increase in the tax user fees or utility fees. That will be adjusted now with the change that council has authorized to the fees and charges bylaw. We'll incorporate that into the budget in the spring adjustments. At this time, we are assuming no growth in assessment or requisitions. The budget addresses inflationary impacts on operations and it maintains existing service levels. It continues to maintain the contribution to operating and capital reserves, and the budget draws from reserves to support the operations and a reasonable tax rate. Our draw is $1.4 million, which is a decrease of $100,000 from September 16th. The budget presents an increase of overall $347,612 in operating costs before transfers. This is an increase from September 16th when it was $300,296, or a $47,000 increase. The capital budget includes $52.4 million in capital project costs. $39 million is the YCE multiplex, and we've adjusted the trucks to $65,000. And we've added floor scrubber, which was missed in the budget last time. Floor scrubber is $15,000. Amortization is unfunded and excluded for clarity at this time. So if we look at our operating revenue, this detailed worksheet outlines the town's total revenues. Some accounting changes affect year-over-year comparisons at the line item level. However, overall, the revenue trend remains consistent. While we look at the total revenues excluding transfers from the 2024 actuals to the 2029 budget, the numbers are fairly reasonable. The changes between the 2025 budget revenues and the 2026 budget revenues before internal transfers is $893,765. This is a $4,552 increase from September 16th. So a slight change. For 2026, the breakdown of our revenues is primarily concentrated to three main categories: municipal taxes, which comprises 38%, user fees, which comprises 18%, and operating grants from other local governments, which is 23%. A reasonable 2% increase is added into future years for forecasting purposes. When we look at our expenses, we now look at the detailed worksheet on the town's total expenses. The overall line-by-line comparison is fairly reasonable and realistic. When we look at the total expenses, excluding transfers from the 24 through the 29 budget, the consistency continues. The change between the 25 budgeted expense and the 26 budgeted expenses before transfers is only $347,642. Again, this was a $47,346 increase from September 16th. The operating budget includes a thorough review of all budget line items. The internal charges were reviewed for better methodology. This was done in three areas: equipment rent, labor, office space allocations. In addition, centralization of expenses into responsible areas such as building maintenance, IT, and office supplies has resulted in better budgeting and resulted in some cost savings. In addition, we continue to maintain a similar amount to reserves as past years by allocating 2.5% of the department's expense to an operating reserve and 6% to capital reserves. New budget requests totaling approximately $571,630 will be identified in more detail as we go into the departments at a glance. But with an increase of only $347,642, with additions of over $571,000, means that this budget includes a number of cost-saving measures across the organization. For instance, we're a part of the Power Plus agreement with Alberta Munis, which supports approximately $300,000 savings in savings due to being locked in, as well as removal of the carbon tax. The next slide shows our grants were increased from 3.0 million approximately to 3.1 million, a change of 35,000, mostly due to the Yellowhead County cost allocation area. This is increased in percentage from 11 to 12%, and the overall Yellowhead County amount between 25 and 26 was 1.8 in 25 and 1.9 million in 2026. So it has increased. If we now go to the capital plan, the capital changes include adding the floor scrubber for 15,000 and adjusting the truck purchases down by $10,000, each for a total of 20,000. Overall is a decrease of $5,000 to the capital program. Then if we look at the fleet in detail, you'll see that we've changed those items for the half tons as requested by council. The next slide shows our 5-year capital plan. This was previously provided to council in the spring. In reality, this is a tool to help us better understand the infrastructure funding gap. It presents the town's 5-year capital plan by asset category. The 2026 column has been updated to reflect the proposed capital plan introduced tonight, and the green area represents typical funding sources available to us, including the local government fiscal framework, Canada Community Building Fund grants. It also incorporates potential allocations from the Fleet Equipment Reserve and reasonable allocations from general capital reserves. By comparing these funding sources against our capital needs, we identify the potential infrastructure deficit. Over the 5-year period, we are currently projecting a cumulative infrastructure funding shortfall of approximately $108.6 million. I want to emphasize, though, that this is a planning tool, and we will continue to refine the plan to ensure it's realistic and achievable. The plan clearly demonstrates that our infrastructure funding challenge is not isolated in a single year. It is systematic and requires sustained strategic attention. When we start looking at the departments at a glance, the first department is general government. The net change from September 16th is $290,000 due to reduction in revenue of $103,535 and an increase in expense of $186,819, due mostly to internal salary adjustments between departments. So you will see a related decrease in other departments where it's increased here. General government includes internal service areas such as lead services, Office of the CAO, IT, communications, finance, corporate services, building maintenance, HR, and requisitions. So you can see it's mainly our overhead. New budget asks include the communications banner replacements for $8,000, communications public engagement software for $12,500, IT server replacement for $5,000, IT VoIP project organization-wide for $20,200, plus an annual subscription for that project for $22,080. Building maintenance has a list of various projects across the organization, totaling $116,350. For new positions in this department, we have 3 positions: the municipal intern, the facility maintenance operator with an electrical certification, capital projects coordinator for facilities. We have a separate slide to go into those costs in more detail. The next department is our protective services area. The net change from September 16th is $62,913 due to an increase in revenue of $106, adjustment for the pound, and an increase in expenses of $63,019 for 911 next generation system, and $4,875 for the pound for internal charges. Protective Services Department includes police, fire, disaster services, community enforcement, and animal pound. 2 new positions include 2 summer students 2 new summer students. And then we can move to the Transportation Department.
I'm just going to pause you. Just want to see if anybody has any questions so far. Any questions so far? Go ahead, Councillor Schramm.
Yeah, through the chair to administration, it's a lot of numbers being thrown out here, so bear with me. So just on the 911, because we're kind of on the protective services anyway, I do see the 2024 actuals were about 97,000. 2025 went up to 217 and 276 in 2026. Those are substantial increases. I'm not sure where the big jump from 2024 to 2025 come. Maybe administration can shed some light on that.
Are you able?
Go ahead. CO Beveridge, who is also acting GM of Community and Protective Services.
Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Sham, I'm going to have to get back to you with regards to the 24 to 25 jump. I will definitely get that back to council.
I do believe it was due to them having a redundant center built, but we'll get clarification on that. Anybody else have any further questions so far? All right, you can go ahead, Councillor Holden.
Yes, through the mayor to administration. I actually just wanted to back up just quickly to the 26 capital plan. There was a question I had regarding the trail replacement and new lighting. It's above the line, which is what we're looking to budget for, but below the line there's the medical center roof replacement and the food bank building envelope. Those are both, I believe, town-owned buildings. Are they in well enough shape to be able to wait for longer versus doing the trail replacement?
Go ahead, GM Hawken.
Through the mayor to council, thank you for the question. And yes, so as you can see, there are some other roof projects that are moving forward this year, but the medical center roof is not. Reason being is it is in better shape. And when looking at the total dollars that we had, which is around $1 million this year, we had to make calls on what needs to happen now versus what doesn't. Therefore, we made the decision that those the food bank and the medical center can be deferred till 2027, at which we will assess at that time.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to administration, Councillor Holden brought up the trail system. I'm pleased that it's above the line. We brought this up in September as an issue that it is in major need of repair. I've done a couple runs, walks on there, and I spoke to I can run too, but just I walked that time. And talking to a lot of residents in the Hillendale area, they use it a lot, and it needed to be redone. What I heard from residents as well is that it is narrow at times. It is more narrow than some of our other trail systems. I know you sent some information out about some of the restructuring. I had a little trouble sort of seeing the map in terms of the width. Is that something that will be addressed? Because again, if you're pushing a stroller and there's someone riding a bike, it makes it a little tight in there. So, and if we're spending this money, and there is space in there too. I know there's space within to sort of hit a greater width. Just want to make sure we're doing it right the first time.
GM Kitlitz, you're on the hot seat.
Thank you for the question. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So what I don't know is the width of the asphalt trail right now. What I can tell you is the design drawings for that project are making sure that they're 2 meter of asphalt. So I think they will be in the sections they are replacing, but unfortunately I can't confirm what the widths are right now. So I'll have to get back to council on that.
Councillor Schramm.
Yeah, through the chair, again to administration, and again, I know some of these capital projects have all been approved by the previous council, and I totally respect that. Just to get some clarity on a couple of capital projects would be, for my peace of mind. One is the community enforcement building lease for $80,000 and the fire training site for $150,000. If I just get a little clarity as to what those involve, that'd be great.
Go ahead, CO Beveridge.
Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Schramm, those are actually below the line. They have not. They are not going forward. They've been deferred just based on our ability to manage, put forward capital projects that we felt were worthy of council's consideration. Those will be items that we will bring forward again at a future year and review.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor?
And through the mayor to council, don't want to certainly have a debate on this and no motion following this. On the capital plan as well, we have a few debentures we're looking at. That's the water digas and the sanitary sewer line replacement. Certainly the water upgrade. When we look at that debenture, and of course that's a future bylaw in the new year, I would like to have a discussion certainly at that time of attaching it much the same way we did an earlier motion tonight, attaching it to our utility invoice. Everybody uses water in town. I just don't want to just put it directly onto just the general taxpayer. Doesn't have to be discussion for tonight, Mr. Mayor, but just for future discussions and when we have that discussion, when we have to pass the debenture bylaw, assuming in 2026 when that will happen. So have that discussion then.
Go ahead, CFO McDonald.
Yes, our debentures, if it's related to the self-serving departments, will be expensed and be part of the user fees as we move forward. However, the reason I asked to speak was to clarify for the new councillors this capital plan and how this works. So initially, administration managers put forward their projects that they feel are their priorities, and then it is streamed down to above the line is what we could fund and find support for in administration, and below the line is what we have taken off the plate. So that's why there's a line in the middle, and there's 52.4 is what we're putting forward in this budget, and 2.6 has been deferred to future years, so it'll fall into the future 5-year plan.
Thanks for that clarification, Ms. McDonald. Go ahead, Councillor Wilson-Lear.
Through the mayor to GM McDonald. I know it's below the line, and your explanation is fantastic. Thank you. But I do want to ask about the Township Road 532 project. The cost has increased, and how is the increased cost being distributed between funding grants, developer contributions, and reserves? And does the increase affect other planned 2026 transportation projects? And is it being it is being topped up? What is the total budget? And I'm asking that for broader public knowledge.
Probably GM Kitlitz will take that question. Go ahead, GM Kitlitz.
Yes, thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. So, a couple things. It's been pushed below the line because we're in a bit of a stalled pattern here. The project's delayed right now. So we won't be asking for any extra funding for 2026. It was originally budgeted in 2024 with $500,000 for design work, geotechnical, and that type of stuff to help get it ready. In 2025, we asked for another $1.5 million for council that was approved for winter construction to start. But because we're delayed, we're not even going to spend the $2025 for construction. Based on the work that the consultants, our engineering consultants, have done so far, the design isn't fully complete because we have some right-of-way issues, but it's all pointing to it's going to cost more because there probably is going to be 2 years of winter construction in order to get a base that'll be adequate for a road to be built over that organic material that's in that area. So the costs are going up because of that. Estimated between $2.7 and $3 million is what they've been telling us right now. Does that answer your question?
Not that I want to get too deep into this. So, but on Township Road 532, there's a couple reasons why this project has been discussed and approved previously. Do you want to talk about that, GM Kitlitz, is in terms of secondary access to the landfill and the industrial development over there, as well as future needs for bridge replacement?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's a good question and great for clarity. So yeah, this was kind of triggered by a new development south of the tracks, being the pivotal plant. Kind of triggered the need for secondary access and egress to that area of town. As council's aware, we have operations being at the landfill and staff at the landfill. There is only one bridge crossing on 54th Street to that area that'll eventually need to be replaced. And without having a secondary access into that area, we can't really take on that bridge project. Also, there's some intersection improvements that need to happen on the highway. There's just all kinds of benefits from a planning perspective to have another access into that area. It also opens up some of those lands down there for current landowners. When your land gets a road in front of it, it certainly opens up opportunities for future developments. So all kinds of benefits to having this road in there. It's probably long overdue, actually. But does that answer your question? Is that what you're looking for, Mr. Mayor? Thank you.
I just thought it would be helpful for you members of council to understand the background on that particular project, 'cause it is a big budget item. With that, I don't see any other questions. I don't, so Councillor or CFO McDonald, if you want to continue, just queue up your mic there. Thank you, go ahead.
Okay, I believe we're at Transportation Services. The net change from 2016 was a decrease of $140,418 due to an increase in revenue of $46,577 at the airport for the cost-sharing agreement, and a decrease of $93,841 of expenses. $7,500 is roads, and $86,000 is engineering, which was salary reallocations. The Transportation Services Department includes Public Works, Fleet, Road, Airport, and Engineering. New budget asks include bridge condition assessment for $45,000, road condition assessment of $70,000. Feel free to ask questions anytime. I apologize for bulldozing through this.
Council, any questions for transportation? Seeing none, I will continue on. Go ahead.
Okay, social programs and services, we have a net change from September 16th, a decrease of $48,499 due to a net increase in revenue of $5,258. Social programs include FCSS, which is the Family Community Support Services, medical facilities, cemetery, and community development. New budget requests include under the cemetery area, new software for $15,000. The next department, if there's no questions, is Recreation, Parks, and Culture. The net change from September 16th is a decrease of $23,831 due to an increase in revenue of $23,331. The Parks, Rec, and Culture groups together Community Services Admin, Parks, Leisure Center, Griffiths Park, and Culture Services. New budget requests include Parks Asphalt Trail Maintenance of $40,000, Parks Playground Maintenance of $10,000. Under Culture, we have the Echo Red Brick request for increased annual funding for staffing of $10,000. Echo Red Brick request, one-time funding for their capital improvements of $50,000. And for new positions, we include hours for guest services, additional hours for guest services, not necessarily positions, and temporary admin for 11-month term. Open for questions on that area.
Go ahead, Councillor Schramm.
Yeah, through the chair to administration, just a notice on the parks revenue, it's a substantial decrease from the 2025 to the 2026 budget from 116.5 down to 10,000. Is there rationale on that?
Somebody able to answer that, I think, is probably through grant funding, but for...
We'll look up what that is, and then we'll, before the end of the session here, we'll get an answer back to you.
GM Kitlitz?
Yeah, thank you, sir. I'm going to pull up the cost center here. As soon as I find it, I'll weigh in.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Holden?
Through the mayor to administration, when you were going over the parks item, you had mentioned a $40,000 funding for the trail repairs, that's in addition to the 380,000 for the replacement of that section? Is that 40,000 going to be enough to do the rest of the park system itself, to do the regular maintenance required?
I think that's just to do an assessment of all the trails, so we have, yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what that was for. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed the question. I was looking at parks.
What's happening? Go ahead, GM Kitlitz.
Yeah, sorry, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in terms of the parks question, it looks like the big thing, it was the transfers from reserves. So we had some reserve transfers, transfers in to cover projects are recorded as revenue, and we don't have those reserve transfers this year because there's no projects for them. So that's why there's a big discrepancy in the revenue. There's not a lot of the revenue sources in parks, actually. So hopefully that answers that question. And then I was looking at the budget too, but I think the question for Councillor Holden was about the money for parks maintenance, or trails maintenance, sorry?
Yeah, I thought it came across as being $40,000 for the, no, I thought that the $40,000 mentioned was for trails maintenance, in addition to the $380,000 for the repairs that need do. And I'm not sure, is that for an assessment of the trails or an actual repair cost, a maintenance cost?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the $40,000 is an operational cost that's going to be for staff to go out and do some more repairs to the trails that are failing. So it's adding a bit more money to do that type of work.
So more of a maintenance item than necessarily a rebuild or a, GM Kitlitz.
My apologies, Mr. Mayor. I have managers in the background helping me here for certain questions. So let me read here what I got. No, it is repair costs. Yeah, okay.
You did that on purpose. Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to administration, hearing the updates at the Red Brick, supportive of those updates. As with the drama department at the school, I've used the Red Brick a lot, and I'm supportive of those additions and the upgrades there. And that was within culture. I know you mentioned Red Brick. Did you mention the operating cost of the library and the museum, which would also be in there? And whether or not, I'm sorry if I missed that, is whether or not their requests for funding this year were matched and for the 2026 budgets.
All right, we'll hand things over to administration. Give them a few moments just to pull up that information. Go ahead, CFO McDonald.
Yes, it does include the museum as well as it includes both of them. However, I believe that they reduced, initially there was a higher increase for the museum and they pulled some of that increase back. So those ones were a little more realistic in comparison to the previous year.
Are you able to give specific numbers in terms of?
Not off the top of my head, but yes, we can get those quoted.
Councillor Taylor?
Yeah, if the specific numbers is fine. Just wondering if the requests that were made were matched essentially.
Go ahead, CEO Beveridge.
Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Taylor, yes. The requests that were submitted were funded within the budget.
GM Kitlitz?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, there's lots going on here. I do have an answer for Councillor Taylor's question earlier about the width of the trails. The trails in that area currently are 1.2 meters, so they will be wider. Not the whole system, but in the patch, the places we're fixing it, and then there's a big, about 400 meters that we're replacing will be wider.
So you will have passing lanes when you're running with your stroller.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. With the bear coming. All right, thank you. With that, we'll hand things back over to Ms. McDonald. Go ahead, CEO Beveridge.
I'm wondering if we can have a comfort break, please.
Absolutely. Lots to digest. So we will take a 10-minute recess here. Are we good to go? All right, thank you very much, everyone, for that brief break, and we'll hand things over back to CFO McDonald.
Okay, if we are finished with questions on rec, park, and culture, then we will move on to planning and development. Okay, planning and economic development. Net change from September 16th is a decrease of 29,510 due to total expenses decreasing. New budget requests include planning having the IDP with the Yellowhead County cost sharing. The project is 100,000 and it's 50-50 shared between the town and the county has approved that project. Any questions? Then we will move on to environmental services. So this is our utilities area that is a self-supported department. The net change from September 16th is a decrease of 35,360 due to a decrease at the landfill. Environmental services include water, wastewater, which is sewer, waste collection, waste management, which includes landfill and recycling. New budget requests for 26 include wastewater, which is a vapor testing pilot for 25,000, and landfill, we have a ground watering monitoring well replacement for 10,000. Is there any questions? Moving on to subdivision land, and there's no change from September 16th in this area. So the next slide shows our positions included in the 2026 budget. The first position in the general government area includes a municipal intern. It's an 18-month term. 26 budget grant is grant supported, and the 27 budget is supported by a transfer from reserves. So there's a cost to the municipality of approximately 52,000 in 27. Facility maintenance operator electrical certification for 132,100 is under the government services area, and capital projects coordinator for the facilities of 138,600. Under the fire or protective services area, we have the 2 summer students for 33,572. The leisure center has additional hours for guest services of 10,000. And there's also a temporary admin there for an 11-month term of 65,000. Total for new positions is 439,272. Please note that these total costs include salary, health benefits, federal and provincial contributions, pension where applicable, and the required equipment and position-specific training for those positions.
So with that, we'll open the floor to questions. And before we take questions from council, maybe I'll just ask CO Beveridge to maybe review these positions for the new members of council. When previous council discussed this, we actually did remove a position from this list in order to focus our attention to some specific areas. So CO Beveridge, if you wouldn't mind speaking, particularly with the larger ones there, facility and capital.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So noting just the municipal intern, that came before council at our first meeting, our first official meeting. This will support general operations, so an administration intern. I believe we spoke about that at length during that meeting, but I did receive a bit of an update when I was at the Alberta Municipalities Conference. We should know in December if we were successful in our grant application. So that's before the minister. The second position is facility maintenance operator, and noting electrician. So what that is that it's one of the things that we looked at when we reviewed the facility life cycle assessment is that we had an immense amount of maintenance, et cetera, and all of this work to do with facilities, and we had one facility supervisor and two laborers to assist that supervisor. And when we went through the process of determining what was going to be appropriate in order to manage the projects, there's two positions that came out of that. The first being an electrician, so GM Hawken and his team, and I'll let him kind of go into the specifics because they've spent a lot of time with regards to what specifically is needed in this, and I think it's better suited that he speak to this, if that's okay.
Go ahead, GM Hawken.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the mayor to council. So for the electrician, we looked at overall contractor costs from 24, 25, and then what was projected for 26 and beyond based on the life cycle assessment for facilities. So for the new council, there was a report called if you hear us refer to the facility life cycle assessment, this was an engineered report for 13 of our major facilities to go into their condition, what the issues are, what we're going to have to fix in order, and this is what guided us with our capital projects for the next 5 years at this time. So when we looked at the contractor costs for electrical work specifically, the last 2 years it has exceeded over 100,000, and there's an estimated cost of about 160 if we were going to just do external costs, 160,000 I should say, sorry. Therefore, there's the added benefit of bringing an electrician in-house has the ability to lower those external contractor costs as well as get us a third maintenance labor. We have 18 major facilities that are being maintained by 2 people. This is not allowing us to do the proactive work that we are trying to get ahead of in order to lower these future capital costs. Therefore, this maintenance operator will not only have the electrical background, but they'll also be able to do regular maintenance as well to help improve the overall program. So the rationale is twofold for this position. One is it is going to lower our external electrical costs. Second is it's going to improve our proactive maintenance program as a third maintenance operator. For the capital projects coordinator for the facilities, this stemmed from the extensive work that we have projected for the next 5 years on our facilities based on that life cycle assessment. We know we have, it's an estimated I'm going to estimate $6 to $8 million worth of work that we need to put into our facilities based on that assessment. Therefore, we need someone outside of the current manager to do the project management, the procurement, the communication with the contractor, in order for our manager to still do management duties, manage the staff, as well as do the other duties of what the manager does. So this is more of a capacity, attacking the capacity issue in facilities of, again, one manager trying to manage 18 major facilities and the capital projects that come with it. So that's the rationale for the 2 positions. If council has any questions, please ask.
We'll stop there on the capital projects and maintenance and municipal intern if you have questions regarding that, and then we'll move on to the rest of the positions here. Does anybody have any questions regarding those positions? Seeing none, do you want to speak to the summer students and the other positions? CO Beverage.
The Fire Summer Students is a bit of a pilot project. Fire smarting is an important aspect of our operations in this community, and one of the things that we were looking at was opportunities to take a little bit of more of a proactive approach. One of the things that we see is that in some of our trail systems and some of the areas where our public are trying to recreate is that there's an opportunity for individuals to potentially hang out in our trail system. And the intention is to clear some of those areas to allow for safety for our public, also do some of the retreatment. So we apply for a FRIA grant, and that was, again, last meeting. Essentially that does, broad base, if we do receive the grant, it's typically about a $200,000 grant that we do receive if we get it. So we just looked at this as an opportunity to try this year, to have 2 summer students under the responsibility of our fire chief and deputy fire chief to handle some of the fire smarting within our trail systems, within our public areas. We're excited to see where this will go. Obviously, this is not for our kids that are just coming out, just average person that is, but obviously will be very much supervised and probably looking for a more mature student, if you will. The second position is leisure center guest services. So this is strictly just hours. This just allows for more ability to be a part of be there when the guests are there. So there's times when you go to the leisure center and there's no one at guest services. And so this is just to enhance that as well. Further is the temporary admin. So the temporary admin assistant is at the recreation center. And part of this is stemming into the capacity that I've spoke about previously. And I'll bring this kind of full circle with regards to the YCE multiplex. We've talked about that a lot tonight. It's no secret that this project does add a lot of extra work to this municipality. And this, of course, the operating center is one place where this does have impact. And what we're finding is that due to complexities with dealing with contractors, we have a leisure center manager there. And essentially, there's oftentimes that individual is dealing with issues that are occurring as they speak, etc. This will allow for some planning and some opportunity for some administrative support for this individual. And we're trying it for an 11-month term before we bring the full proposal of the staffing model to the respective councils for consideration for the YC multiplex. That concludes the staffing.
All right, council, open the floor to questions. Go ahead, Councillor Wilson-Lear.
Through the mayor to administration, you just answered every single one of my funding questions for the new positions in 2026. I thank you so much for that. I have another public engagement result question, just for broader knowledge again. Our public input showed demand for more community enforcement service levels, and I just want to ask for that broader knowledge. Why were those not reflected in staffing additions, and what operational risks or service level impacts result from deferring these positions?
Thank you for that question. We'll hand things over to CAO Beverage.
Motion.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Councillor Wilson-Lear. Thank you for the question. With regards to the public engagement about the enhancing of the enforcement services. One of the things that we talked about previously and is that the priorities that I've set forward for this organization as far as this particular area, a service level review is something that we want to do. And one of those things when we deal with service levels is that we want to have, it goes back to data. I will always drive back to the data to support the decisions that would put forward positions for this organization. And essentially, that is a part of the process. And the service level review is where we're starting as with community services. And I think that we'll be able to evaluate things and bring back something worthy of council's consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Fogarty.
Through the mayor to administration, just 2 quick questions. One, I think, is probably pretty simple. The municipal intern, if we're not successful in that grant, then we're not going to move forward with that at all, I would assume. This one, and maybe this is my inexperience here, but if we're hiring a temporary admin due to the fact that our manager is overwhelmed with some of the work that is required, is there anything in our cost sharing agreement that helps us that Yellowhead County can help with a position like this?
Go ahead, CAO Beverage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Councillor Fogarty, great question. So that should be noted on this slide as well. That is a cost-sharing position. So essentially, it's 35%. So understand, we are working through with our partners, or we are always having discussions with regards to support that we may need. And I find that as we've been moving through this project, there have just been unexpected circumstances that have arisen. To be fair, also there's also staffing challenges at the leisure center that are consistently occurring, and it comes back to just the overall staffing complement that is there and what the staffing are doing. The administration, to be fair, administrative assistants, I couldn't live without the assistance of the, in our organization. And this is an area that hasn't ever had one. We have a booking clerk that is there that does all of the scheduling for all of the ICE, and also deals with all of the programs, etc. And then, of course, we have the aquatic center as well. So this is to support the recreation manager in being able to help with managing through just the normal administrative tasks that throughout the day are just not able to get to. And why, and like I said, there's impact because of the project, but also just, it's just the timing circumstance of things not, the staffing being challenging at this point in time.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Fogarty.
And again, through the mayor to administration, I just wanted to be clear, I wasn't speaking out against the position. I just wanted to make sure that the funding wasn't all falling on us. And again, maybe it's my inexperience with how the funding agreements work. So I'm in favor of, I can definitely understand how that would be needed. Thank you.
Councillor Schramm.
Yeah, through the chair to council and administration, I'm really happy to see some of this stuff on these positions, particularly the facility maintenance operator. It's always been from previous years an intent to have some type of a journeyman in these roles, and it's great to see it's finally happening. And as far as the fire summer students, I'm all in on that one. So
I thought you were going to vote against that. Council, any further questions for administration on the positions? Go ahead, Councillor Pasichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to administration. Why is it temporary, the interim position? No, sorry, not the intern, the
Admin position. Go ahead, Sue Bever.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Councillor Pasichny, just due to the staffing model that is going to be proposed, just wanting to make sure that we weren't setting forward a full-time position and tying our hands at this point. We really want to understand what we need as a group before we propose anything. So we didn't want to, have to deal with a full-time position and have to end that position or do something else with it. It was just to be cautious.
Thank you very much. Council, no further questions. We will go back to Ms. McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Budget impact and summary. So we can go into the numbers now. This is, if you remember back to our orientation with Ian McCormick, council should be focusing on, he had suggested council focus on the dollar impact to the taxpayer for budget purposes. So this is the residential impact based on 2.7% municipal tax rate increase. It compares each house, what the house would have paid in 2025, and then holding the requisitions for education, Evergreens Foundation the same, determines the impact to the property owners. So you can see the difference between 25 and 26 on a $250,000 assessment would be $4 a month. A $350,000 assessment would be $5 a month, and a $450 assessment would be $7 a month. Questions on residential? If not, I'll move to non-residential municipal tax impact. So based on 2.7% municipal tax levy increase again, and assuming no change in the assessed market value or education or school requisitions. We would compare each property, what they paid in 25 compared to 26. So a $500,000 assessment would increase $18 per month. 1.5 million in assessment would increase $54 a month, and $2 million assessment would increase $72 per month. And questions on non-residential? So now if we move to summary and next steps, so this is council's opportunity to provide direction on the 2026 budget. This includes a 2.7 tax levy increase, no increases in the tax user fees, no increase in utility fees, and the 2026 capital projects of 52.4 million. It is important to note council is not establishing the tax rate at this time, only approving the budget. Once approved, administration can move forward with programming and planning and tendering effective January 1st. Again, carry forwards are late January, February. Spring budget adjustments are late March and early April, and the tax rate calculation is May. So you'll have an opportunity to make changes in the future. Thank you. I will pass it back to Mayor and Council for discussion.
All right, thank you, Ms. McDonald, for that thorough presentation, and the entire finance team here this evening as well for joining us, and our general managers and everybody involved in this process. You know, I think it was stated earlier, this budget really reflects the previous council's strategic plan. So a lot of this has been reviewed previously, and I know for new councilors, it's been a lot to try to get up to speed, kind of like drinking from a fire hose. And we have some new fire hose in the budget, so it's all good. Really, for this new council, our strategic plan is going to be discussed in the early spring and adopted, and that will drive the 2027 budget, which may look similar or may look a lot different. So I guess, first of all, I'll ask if council has any questions. Typically in this process now, what will happen is council will have the opportunity to make any adjustments through motion. And I do want to give council a few minutes to kind of absorb all the information here and see if there's any changes you want to make to this budget. But before we do that, I'll just ask council if you have any further questions for administration at this point in time. Seeing none, I'm going to just call about a 10-minute recess just for people to absorb all this information. And if you do have a motion that you're thinking that you'd like to put on the floor, you can see Ms. Williams in the back and she can help you with that so she's prepared moving forward. We will resume at around 9:22. All right, thank you, everyone, and we will resume the meeting. Ms. McDonald, do you have something for us?
Yes, I wanted to make a clarification on the planning and economic development area where I said new budget request, the IDP has been approved by the county. It has not yet been approved by the county. It has just been included in their budget, but it's not yet approved.
Yes,
Sorry about that.
yeah, they're still going through their budget process. All right, council, we had a moment to break there, and I think we have a few motions that are going to be made here this evening. So, council, open the floor. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor, I'll start off with a motion and then speak to the motion. I move that council direct administration to bring forward a barrier-free pedestrian crossing ramp program for consideration in the 2027 budget. That motion's up there, and I'll speak to it. Throughout the last few months, speaking with residents in the community, I call them accessible curbs. Administration calls them barrier-free pedestrian crossing ramps is the technical name, but making them accessible curbs. This is something that's come up in the last year and certainly at the doors over this last campaign as a necessity within our community. We currently spend about $100,000 on sidewalk repair, which doesn't include any sort of changing them to barrier-free or curbside. I think we did, according to administration, we did one in this past year. Heard concerns from residents that we saw sidewalk repairs happening in and around curbs, but then nothing replacing to make those curbs accessible. Wanted to include this within this budget. The challenge is that if we do include it in this budget, then we're off kind of doing it haphazardly or willy-nilly. I think we're going to need a little more of a plan to do that, and this will give administration some time to think about funding dollars of what we want to put forth in the 27 budget, and also look at what curbs need to be accessible, right? Perhaps looking at addressing ones nearer to schools, nearer to pathways that are heavily used, and they make it accessible for everyone, but especially people that have mobility issues, people in wheelchairs, and people pushing strollers. And I'll challenge anyone to know it, like if you're able-bodied, you have no concerns. But as soon as you're challenged with mobility, whatever that challenge is, it can be a struggle. So would have liked to have concluded this in 2026, but if we did that, then I would be afraid that administration would be out there just choosing random curbs and not really having direction with a plan with that. So this motion gives time to sort of plan what that would look like and budget a cost in the 2027 budget.
All right, thank you for that, Councillor Taylor, and we will hand things over to Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Councillor Taylor. Maybe I'm looking for some clarification. Is this motion to look at areas where we don't have ones existing, to improve the ones we have existing? Because I know when they replaced the sidewalks on Edson Drive and 18th Avenue, when they did both those crossings, they made them to very beautiful, fully accessible areas. And I do know some of our barrier-free ones have a bit of a bump at the bottom, and they're not actually that barrier-free. So just kind of maybe looking for clarification of, are we replacing all of them, doing all of them, or are we just maybe advancing the program? Maybe some clarification, please.
So we'll go to Councillor Taylor and then GM Kitlitz.
Through the mayor, back to Councillor Pisichny. My understanding is that the current sidewalk repair program can repair any existing barrier-free areas, even ones with lips and stuff like that. And that's my understanding to GM Kitlitz when he speaks. This would look at more transforming the ones that are already a regular curb into one that's more accessible. Does it make sense?
GM Kitlitz.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to confirm a couple of the points that have been made by Councillor Taylor and Councillor Pisichny. So if, for example, as part of the sidewalk program that's funded for $100,000, if a straight-faced curb crossing exists that needs to be repaired, let's say it's up for repair, we would absolutely turn that into a barrier-free at that point in time, or fix the ones that you had mentioned that might have a higher. So I just wanted to make that clarification that although we're not out purposely looking for ones to install, if it comes up on the list as a repair or as a replacement, we will replace it with the barrier-free. So just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Fogarty.
Through the mayor to Councillor Taylor, I heard similar concerns on the campaign trail. So I'm glad you brought this forward. I heard both concerns, both a lack of accessible curbs and ones that were technically accessible or were at one point and have shifted and are troublesome. So I think both of those things need to be addressed. So I like the motion you put forward.
Thank you. Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Councillor Taylor and council. Accessibility is always a challenge, and our earth is a challenge in this area and heaving. There was programs done in the past where we've had a coring company go around where we had instead of replacing a sidewalk, they just cored down one side, so now it was a smooth and it removed the bumps. I think really at the end of the day, I think we were pretty light on our budget for a few years back on the on sidewalk repair, and I think maybe I'm for this. It does need. It's just not feasible to replace all of them. And I know when they do replace them, they replace them with the proper ones, and the new ones look amazing. The current standard is way better than the 1980 standard. So I do support it. Maybe there's just a bigger budget for sidewalks overall, as and accessibility being the backbone of that.
All right, thank you. Do you have something you'd add? Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, just through the mayor. And when we, to Councillor Fogarty's point about the lips that perhaps need improvement, to anyone listening, if there is concerns with that, the Reporter Problem app is the place to go for those changes. And then that's budgeted within the $100,000 to address those, right? But again, this motion is looking at targeting certain areas around town. What that number is and how many we can replace is yet to be determined. We'll find that out next year when administration comes back.
Jim Kitlitz.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So appreciate the opportunity to build the program, because I think it's important to understand that we have to understand how much there is, because as Councilor Patricia said, we probably can't do them all in 1 year, but if we know that we have 40 to do, right now the tender prices for those installations last year were about $3,000 to $3,500 a piece. So based on how many we have to do, we can come back with a plan to say over the next 4 years, 5 years. And conceivably, I guess, I don't know this for sure, but it is conceivable. Part of our exercise will be to look at this. I think this is our 3rd year of the sidewalk program. So that's $300,000 we've spent on sidewalk repairs the last year. So we may be in a position where, we don't need to spend that much anymore. Maybe we can allocate some of that funding towards the Pararam program. So we'll do that analysis and make sure that when we come back for 2027 that we have that data ready for council to consider.
Thank you for that. Even though Councillor Taylor was very unsupportive of my previous motions, I am going to be supporting this motion. To go back in history, a few years ago, we had some sidewalks in town that were in very poor shape. And when I did some investigating, I found out we didn't actually have a sidewalk repair budget. It was all lumped into just overall maintenance and road repairs. And of course, road repairs, that swallows all the money. And sidewalks are often left unless they were extremely dangerous. So council of the day elected to allocate $100,000. And to see the significant amount of work that's been done over the last number of years has been great. Cement's expensive. Doing these projects are very, very expensive. And I'm in support of this, obviously, for the accessibility concerns. And nothing is more concerning when you see somebody that is mobility challenged, and they're struggling to get up a sidewalk, or they come off a sidewalk and there's a hump and then they fall over or having difficulties, right? And I've seen that. So we do need to address this, and I'm glad that we are going to look at a program. Further to that, and this is not going to be part of this budget, but I will be talking about strategic planning, and this is something I talked about 8 years ago, is we have sidewalks to nowhere. And so we need to start connecting our sidewalk network. You have certain neighborhoods that have block of sidewalk, and then there's no sidewalk for 2 blocks, and there's another block of sidewalk. Like, I don't know where the planning and all this went years and years ago, and the highway is a perfect example of that, where you're walking down the highway and then all of a sudden you have a block of
starting with the motion, then I'll speak to it. I move that the council direct administration to bring forward a road maintenance program. Okay, to speak to it. This was something that was brought up this past council term, and certainly in the budget when we had budget talks in September. We've done a relatively good job in the last few years of purchasing equipment, crack sealer, those types of things to get on maintenance. Potholes, if there's a pothole, our team can repair that. You know, in the summertime, they can repair it the next day. That's really quick. The challenge we have in town, and again, going to the doors and hearing from a lot of people, is not the potholes, it's not the cracks, it's the heaves or the humps, whichever you want to call them. We got a heaves and hump problem in town. And how many people drive over basically ski jumps on the way to wherever they get to go? To address these, we need a program in place or a plan in place to do this. Going back to the previous motion, we just can't just do it willy-nilly. We can't just say we're addressing these heaves and not these ones. We have to have why. And some are more complicated than others. Some, yes, we could perhaps do it with internal crews, shaving them down. Some may take a lot more planning and may even lead to more reconstruction than maintenance. But to do this, we need a plan. There is no date attached to this, and there is a challenge with that. I spoke with administration, and it is a tough thing to put a date on. I wouldn't like to wait too much on this in terms of this. Bringing it forward in the 2027 sort of budget is perhaps appropriate, but of course there's data that is needed to be collected to support how we're going to maintain this. So that is, that's my motion, and there you go. Thank you.
I'll go to Councillor Pacichny before I make my comment. Go ahead, Councillor Pacichny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the mayor to Councillor Taylor and to council. And I'm speaking my language, Councillor Taylor. I've been saying this for a while. I still get angered when we don't tar the roads. Heaves and bumps come from water getting in your road base, and that is what I've been saying for years. I'm all about this. I'm confused why we're talking. This is, I support the motion. I'm just not sure why we're having this motion in the budget meeting right now if we don't have dollars attached to it and we don't have a plan for this year. And I know I like the idea, and maybe it'd be a further amendment to bring it back at a committee of the whole meeting to discuss this kind of a program, that we can get it added to our agenda and we can give administration time to come up with maybe some timelines. I like the motion. I'm all about this, and our roads 100% need to be maintained. And I'm all about it. I'm just not sure how this is fitting into this meeting. And so maybe, I don't know. I'll leave it at that.
So do you want it or don't you want it? Get Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to Councillor Pacichny, I completely hear where you're coming from. In a perfect world, I would like to implement this into the 2026 budget. The problem is we just don't have the data, the research, the history of the plan to create that plan, and that's going to take time, right? And a lot of resources, and that's I as well am challenged with perhaps of course this is written as an open-ended timeline. I wouldn't like to put. I don't really like the idea of it being open-ended myself. Perhaps bringing it back at a future committee of the whole about how that plan is created. And this discussion came about in our last budget session. It was either GM Kitlitz or CO Beverage that sort of made this comment with regards to when I spoke about the humps and heaves program. And if either one of administration, I know this is my motion, but if either one administration could speak to perhaps other municipalities that perhaps have a plan like this in place and like the time and sort of the data that perhaps is.
I think we're getting a little bit into the weeds.
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, that's fair enough. But I do hear your concern about when to bring it back and have that discussion.
I think bringing it to a committee of the whole is probably a really good idea. Councillor Pacichny, go ahead.
Yeah, through to the mayor, Councillor Taylor, administration, and so forth. I do support this. What I'd like to more say is I'd rather not study how to do some maintenance right now. If maybe amend the motion to, or ask administration what our additional budget right now is required just to get everything tarred, just to finish all the crack filling. Like, that's something that we could add to this meeting that would be immediate, that says, oh, we're $50,000 short on crack filling the entire town. That to me has a lot of merit. That's immediate. That's not saying I need to study, because then it takes 2 years for the study and now we're 2 years behind in maintenance. So it's simple. Let's start with the basics. That to me is something we could add in the motion, but we really should have a comprehensive plan or discussion on this, and it's probably not for this meeting. But.
Yeah, so I think if you're favorable to this, Councillor Taylor, maybe just to amend your motion that council direct administration bring forward a road maintenance program discussion to a committee of the whole prior to spring budget adjustment. And then we can have a discussion, give some feedback to administration, and that will help inform the next steps in this. Because my motion was very similar to yours. It looks at it a little from a different lens, so that could get everybody's discussion, and maybe that would be more clarity to administration. Does that sound acceptable, CO Beveridge? Yeah, okay, I got a thumbs up. So would you be okay with that friendly amendment?
Yeah, so the council direct administration bring forward a road maintenance program discussion at a future committee of the whole meeting prior to the spring budget adjustments or final budget? Final budget. Yeah, for the whole meeting, okay. Well, that would have got interesting if you'd done that. Does that give? And I'm satisfied with making those. I'm glad that we're putting some timeframes on this. And I do hear Councillor Positioning's point about, like, let's get out and let's just seal all the cracks and things like that. That's fine. And again, crack sealing and tarring, that's fine. I really want to address the bigger issue of those heaves and humps that are actually more problematic within our town.
All right, we have a motion on the floor here, so thank you, Councillor Taylor, for that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Councillor Taylor, do you have any other motions? Council, do you have any further motions? Seeing none, I will have a couple motions, and we've taken now one off the table, so this should be hopefully fairly quick. Or maybe not. My first motion is that council direct administration to reduce council's FCM conference budget by $10,000. I'll speak to this. As you know, FCM is expensive to attend. In the last couple that I have attended, the value for a municipality our size has been more and more questionable. We currently have budget in place that allows all of council to attend based on our policy. Even though the most that has ever gone in 1 year since I've been mayor is 5. So we've never had full council go to FCM. So we have that money sitting in the budget that largely doesn't get used for that purpose. Depending on location, cost of hotel travel and registration, it can range from $3,000 to $6,000 to attend FCM. So it's sizable. With FCM in Edmonton next year, costs will be reduced. And as such, a reduction of $10,000 can be easily accommodated even if all 7 members of council wanted to attend. And I understand that some have already said they probably won't be able to. In future years, we only need to send a maximum of 3 representatives, which still can be accommodated in the existing budget. And I think this is a way for us to reduce some expense, to free up some money for my motion that will be coming forward after this. So for those that have been around this table for a while, we never spend our council budget. We have a lot of extra funds in there. We do reduce travel. We do carpooling. I know a number of members of councils went down to AMA and they carpooled. a lot of times things are done virtually now, and those numbers have never been adjusted with our new online meeting procedures for many of our committees. I just think that this is a little bit of amount that we can adjust for a different project here. So open the floor to questions, comments, concerns. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to the mayor and the rest of council, this was something that I think we spoke about at last year's budget, or perhaps even the budget before that. I'm not quite sure. And although I've never been to FCM, we have had members of council return from attendance, and I don't know if we were getting the bang for our buck with everybody attending. And and again, I've never attended. At some point, perhaps I will be able to, but I don't know whether we were. So, decreasing this budget is fine. Still being able to send members of council, the mayor, and two. Obviously, the mayor would have first crack. I think it's important that he be there, and two other councillors is fine. So I'm in support of the motion that's on the floor. I'm in support of Mayor Zahara's motion on the floor.
Thank you for that. And I do want to clarify, this is kind of going back to what the policy used to be. We did increase it because of how people's schedules were, and some years nobody could go, and other years we thought maybe everybody could go. Plus, we had a very large contingent at Quebec City because it was around the pipeline debate and Trans Mountain, and we thought it was really important for our community to represent energy projects, which worked out very well for us. But anyway, that's just some of the history there. Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to council. FCM has changed. It is a touch long, which adds to the expense of it. We haven't in the last 3 years, I think we spent more than 3 people every time. So reducing the budget by 10,000 is fine. As long as there's ways of, like, for example, those who haven't attended, there's resolutions very much Alberta Muse, which we just attended, but they're federal. It's our federal lobbying. And when we don't have sitting government in Alberta, the only way you get things passed to help Western Canada is through FCM for municipalities. Now our provincial government has put in some laws about that, but which is only affected the big cities. There has been some big wins out of it, and it's got a new name, but the third time now. But originally it was the gas tax money, which was a huge win to municipalities. We received that money from the feds, and that was through the lobbying efforts of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. So, yeah, we're not utilizing it. As long as there's a provision in there that if we have a controversy, such as the pipeline, Alberta does show up in a large attendance. We're one of the largest provinces that shows up there than the ones that are bigger than us. And part of that reason is for years we didn't have a voice in Ottawa, so our voice for municipalities was through FCM. So it is a big conference. It is expensive for sure, especially because it goes east to west. So this year it's in the west. Next year it'll be in the east. Then you're adding airfare and hotels and such. So I'm not against it. We haven't been using up our budgets for all of our councils, but maybe in a future planning session, we could look at maybe how councils have budgets for conferences that they want to attend. There's some municipalities have a different way of expending it, so you can go to one or two or not go to them. Like there's other ways of looking at it, but for sure, I'm not against reducing council's budget because we've been leaving $100,000 in that budget almost every year. So.
Thanks for that, Councillor Pisichny. And I think that's a really good discussion, having a look at how we are handling that, because unfortunately, I think sometimes we go to things that we don't actually need to be going to, just for the sake of going. If there's something controversial, then we have the opportunity to make a motion to send more people if we need to. So with that, if there's no further questions, comments, or concerns, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. All right, this leads me to my next motion, so please bear with me. This is my last motion, by the way, so maybe we'll get out of here by 10 o'clock. That council direct administration include an option in spring budget adjustments to purchase and install Christmas lights for up to 12 larger trees in Millennium Park. So I'll speak to this. So late summer, early fall, residents submitted a letter requesting assistance in lighting large trees in Millennium Park. For the last several years, seniors around the park have volunteered time and money to light up all the smaller trees that they can reach and do so safely. However, many of the larger trees remain unlit. It has turned into a very much used park in the wintertime with people strolling through. There's been some inflatables that have been donated and installed. There's music now. And for those that know me, I'm not Mr. Christmas or Mr. Sappy, but I have to say it is a bit magical walking through the park. And the passion that the residents around Millennium Park have for this is just amazing. I do know administration, from a risk management point of view, may cringe at the idea of some community members doing this kind of work on municipal properties, and just in case somebody gets hurt, and I think that is a fair concern. But it really is a great addition to the community, and I refuse to be Mr. Grinch that stole Christmas, and want to see support these efforts somehow. Potentially using the funds that we are saving from FCM that shows a tangible community wellness impact. Our strategic plan talks about bringing people together, and I think it would further enhance this park. I know we already do a Centennial Park, which is much larger, and which is great for the highway corridor and some of the events down there, but this is a little bit more quaint, and a lot of seniors live in that area, and there's a on Christmas Eve, I walked through there, and there was just a ton of people after dinner walking through there. So I would like administration to research that and bring some ideas forward in spring adjustments. And then council can decide whether or not we proceed. But I do think it's worthy of a discussion based on the letter that I received from area resident. So with that, I will go to Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to the mayor. Is this idea similar to Centennial Park, where they have a professional company come in and put the strings all up, or is this where we buy just some lights and then our staff get out a Zoom boom and away they go?
Great question, Councillor Pisichny. I think that's what I'm asking administration to research and tell us what is the most feasible for their teams, and then we'll go from there. Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to the mayor, you're asking to purchase and install. So currently, those Millennium Lights are set up by volunteers, residents in the community, do a fantastic job each and every year. Are you saying that our staff would then take over that responsibility, or just purchase these things and perhaps assist if necessary, but mostly it's volunteers that still want to, in the community, that would take the initiative and set all this up?
So my motion is particularly for the larger trees that can't be lit, because all the lower smaller ones are, but the large trees in the park are not lit. And the request from the resident was to have assistance for those larger trees. There's already power, ample power at the site. So now administration may come back and say, hey, we can do the whole park and this is what it would be. But I don't want to take that away from the people around there. This is something that they're very passionate about, until which time they don't want to do it anymore. I just think we should be enabling that kind of community involvement in our community. So that answer your question? Absolutely. All right, thank you. Council, any further questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Schramm.
Yeah, through the chair to all of council, I've walked that park in the Christmas times, and it is pretty amazing what those residents do in there. I really support this, and the question about electricity was my main question. It just got answered. If the electrical capacity is there to accommodate those 12 trees, I'm all for this project. So,
perfect. Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Administration, you have anything you want to add? Okay. With that, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. I had another motion for a mill and overlay program, but I think that's going to be discussed in the spring based on Councillor Taylor's motion earlier. So, yeah, go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the mayor to the mayor. I know you said a mill and overlay program. So my motion is about maintenance. Is yours more capital orientated then?
I think we'll have the discussion at.
Are you on? Yeah.
I think we'll have the discussion about your program, and I think it's going to talk about the broader road maintenance and the discussion about the condition of the roads, and then from there that'll give administration enough information to bring something back to council.
Okay, thank you.
Otherwise, it's kind of talking about the same thing but different things. So
I hear it. If you're one capital, one maintenance, or one operating, but I agree and then we have one full discussion, it'll be fine. Thank you.
Thank you to Councillor Pisichny for that suggestion to bring it to a committee of the whole. That's perfect. Yeah. All right. So with that, all that stuff, we will move on to our next steps here to approve the budget. Should we be doing this as amended, or just as it's set out here now that we have those motions taken care of on the floor?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the question, Mayor and Council. I think the best practice would be just to go forward with the motion we have on the presentation, and we will make those changes and implement it into the budget, and then you'll see it in the spring adjustments.
All right, sounds good. Perfect. All right, so can I get a motion from the floor, please? Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, I move that council approve the 2026 operating budget with a total operating revenue of $27,686,933, with operating expenditures of $42,695,191, resulting in municipal taxation levy requirements of $15,008,258, excluding amortization of $5,560,540, and the 2026 capital budget, which has a total capital revenue of $52,418,315 to support total costs of $52,418,315. That was a mouthful.
Thank you. Council, any further questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to all of council and anybody, and I'll try to make this quick knowing our time is against us. I'm supportive of this budget that's been created. Thank you to our administration for creating this. This has been a long haul. We are doing exactly what residents want, and that's maintaining services throughout year to year. 2.7% tax increase is appropriate, and moderate tax increase is appropriate. I think it's fine. We're continuing to tackle major infrastructure, as well as continuing to maintain infrastructure as well. So that's good. And seeing upgrades to some facilities such as the tennis court, West Haven Rink, and the Hillendale Trails are going to be great additions to all those users who use those facilities. And one thing, as we look at this budget into future budgets, of course, we're going to have to continue to get creative. The Minister of Finance, as he said last week, in his eerie words to us at municipalities, there's no white knight apparently coming to save the province or save municipalities, as he said, which is an eerie look in terms of our future, in terms of if we're looking for funding, which will in the future affect municipal funding for infrastructure projects. He was clear on that. So future budgets could get a little more interesting, and we'll have to get perhaps a little more creative in the future as well. But supportive of our administration's work on this and the budget that's been created.
Thank you. Council, any other comments on this budget? Much like Councillor Taylor, very supportive of this budget, and we actually are doing some really great things. We're actually addressing maintenance issues with our facilities, information that we didn't have before. It's very daunting, but this investment that we're making starting in this budget will save this municipality 10, 15 years from now, and because we are being more proactive, more preventative, and ensuring that we're maintaining service levels in our community. We're actually enhancing in some areas. It's a small budget item, but the summer students for the fire department to do fire smarting in town, I am super excited about that. We talk about fire smarting, we've always relied on grants, but if we don't get those grants, like last year, nothing happens. And we know we are at risk in this community, and we have a lot of trail networks that need some clearing. I know there's a resident up in West Haven that continually messages me about the trees behind her house and the risk that she feels there is with fires, and this will help us starting to tackle some of that stuff without relying on funds and actually get some work experience for some youth in our community. So I think that's really, really great. So looking forward to that and seeing continued investment throughout the community. With that, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. And can I get a motion, please, for the budget plan? Deputy Mayor Fogarty.
I move the council approve in principle the operating budget plan for 2027, 2029, and the 5-year capital plan as presented.
Thank you, council. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. On behalf of council, just want to thank you, CF McDonald, Mr. Goebel, and Ms. Schmidt for being here this evening, and the entire team's incredible efforts during this budget process. We were able to get through it, and we will be able to move forward, and actually administration tomorrow can start planning out our 2026 capital plan. So that's fantastic. We have no council committee reports tonight, so we're going to defer that until our December meeting. No information items, no notice of motion, no closed session items. So I will adjourn this meeting with 3 minutes to go. Thank you, everyone.